He couldn't even unload the dishwasher properly, but thought he was the king of cleanliness. She left dirty pots all over, but claimed she was just tired. Together, they were messy, manipulative, and unbearable to live with. So I did what no one else dared to do. I dismantled them from the inside. Ever lived with a couple that made your life hell? The kind who think rules are for everyone but them? If so, smash that like button, subscribe, and sit tight. Because what I did wasn't pretty, but it was perfect. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine living in a shared space where basic adult tasks, like emptying the dishwasher, become an everyday battlefield. Now imagine one of your roommates constantly leaving a full load of clean dishes just sitting on top of the dishwasher, not putting them away, not sorting the silverware, just dumping it there for someone else to deal with. Now at a twist, this same guy constantly nagged us about being untidy. Not privately, not respectfully, no, publicly, loudly, like a self-appointed dictator of cleanliness. But if his girlfriend left greasy pots all over the stove because she was too tired after dinner, he defended her like a knight guarding a dragon. She works hard, man. Give her a break. Right. And the rest of us? Were we houseplants? It was a toxic, hypocritical, gaslighting mess. So I started planning. Not with rage, not with shouting, but with strategy. And so, the 5-step plan to ruin their relationship began. Step 1, spoil the food. Every now and then, just a drop of rotten milk into their carton. Just enough to taste off, not enough to prove. A little bit of baking soda in their protein powder. A hint of a diuretic in the salt shaker. Let's just say the bathroom schedule got competitive. Their arguments over who didn't put the milk back or why they both had stomach cramps became routine. I smiled, silently. Step 2, add temptation. Poison fruit, so to speak. She was a recovering alcoholic, something I respected genuinely. But they both used that excuse to make the rest of us feel bad for having drinks around them. So I started gently seeding the idea. One beer doesn't make you a bad person, I told him during one of our bro talks. She's got to manage her own triggers. So he had a beer. Just one. Then 2. Then more. And I slipped vodka into their juice when no one was watching. She got mad. He got defensive. She relapsed. Got drunk at a bar. Fell off her bicycle on the way home. The tension? Palpable. The trust? Fractured. I was just getting started. Step 3, the whisper campaign. Divide and destroy. Hey, he told me he doesn't think you're actually trying to stay sober. You didn't hear it from me, but she said you're emotionally weak. They're saying things behind your back. Just saying, watch yourself. I planted doubts like landmines. And when they exploded, I acted surprised. I just want what's best for you guys. Step 4, attack the vanity. He was super into self-care. Hair masks, beard oil, skin cream. So I swapped out his shampoo with a little something extra. Depilatory cream. Hair began thinning. Beard got patchy. Confidence? Shattered. Meanwhile, she started breaking out. I may have accidentally replaced her moisturizer with an expired one. Oops. Then came the psychological warfare. Step 5, make the sickness emotional and physical. I began asking carefully timed questions. You okay? You've been throwing up a lot. He's been so off lately, huh? I heard hair loss is a sign of stress. Looks like your relationship is literally making you sick. I watched the doubt grow behind their eyes. The love died quietly, bit by bit, day by day. She left him. He packed up and moved out a month later. Didn't even say goodbye. It took almost a year, but I played the long game. Built trust, gained access, and slowly, methodically, tore them apart from the inside. They thought they were untouchable. They thought their mess was everyone else's problem. They forgot that some people clean quietly and plot even quieter. And the dishwasher? Now it's always empty. Sometimes the best revenge isn't explosive. It's quiet, petty, precise. Because while they were busy blaming each other, I was rearranging the chessboard. Ever lived with roommates that made you question your sanity? Drop your worst housemate story in the comments and let me know. Was I evil or just deficient? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and remember, here at Cursed Karma, We don't raise our voices. We raise the stakes. My 70-year-old blind mother was abandoned in the middle of a street at night by a taxi driver who took her money and told her to get out. She wandered for 45 minutes in the dark before finding her way home. I called the company, and they laughed. So I found out exactly who they were, and I made sure everyone else did too. If you've ever had someone mistreat your family, especially someone vulnerable, and they thought they'd get away with it, hit that like button and get ready. Because what they did was disgusting, and what I did in return, that was justice. Let me tell you what happened. My mother, 70 years old, legally blind, independent as hell, but obviously needs a little help getting around at night. She called a local taxi firm she'd used before, trusted. She gave them the address. Clearly, slowly, like she always does. The driver picked her up, a man named Kevin, though I didn't know that at the time, and drove her somewhere. Not to her destination, not even near it, just somewhere on a random street. And then he told her he couldn't find the house, that he had to go back to the taxi rank, and he told her to get out. And the kicker? He took her money anyway. So there she was, 70, blind, standing alone on the pavement at night, disoriented, afraid, confused. She called me crying, and it took her 45 minutes to finally find her way home. You want to know what rage feels like? That was it. I called the company, tried to be calm, tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they hit me with abuse. Wouldn't give the driver's name, wouldn't give their name, told me she didn't give them the right address, even though I later confirmed she did. Then they changed their story. First, we didn't pick her up. Then, oh, okay. Yeah, we did. But we couldn't find the street. Which is a joke. They're a local firm, and we have Google Maps, sat-navs, literally everything. The truth? They just didn't care. Didn't care about her. Didn't care what happened after they dumped her. And they thought I would just hang up and let it go. They had no idea who they were dealing with. So, I did what they thought I wouldn't. I started digging. Went through Facebook. Found the company owner's name. His 3 personal pages. Found Kevin's profile. Even found his wife's Facebook. Now I had faces, names, connections. And then I made sure everyone else did too. Here's what I did next. And if you've ever been wronged and stayed quiet, let this be your blueprint. I wrote Google reviews, Yelp reviews, TripAdvisor reviews, and Facebook reviews. Not fake ones. Factual ones. Truthful. Specific. With timestamps and names. I attached the full story, that they abandoned a blind senior citizen at night, took her money, and yelled abuse at her family when questioned. I used screenshots from their Facebook profiles to confirm identity and show that this wasn't just a he said, she said, it was verifiable. I shared the story on local Facebook community pages. You know the ones, spotted in your town or city residents chat. These pages are local gold mines. Thousands of people see them. They trust them, and they share fast. Then I sent formal complaints to the local council taxi licensing board, consumer protection, and even local news tips. Within a week, that taxi firm's reviews plummeted. Their name got dragged on every local group. People started asking questions. And customers? They disappeared. Fast. The owner even tried to message me, threatening legal action for defamation. I replied with one line. Truth isn't defamation. Good luck. Last I checked, their Google page is buried in 1-star reviews. Their social media was shut down. And the license board? I heard they're under investigation. Kevin, no longer listed as a driver. His Facebook? Private. And my mother? She's okay now. Still shaken. But she knows one thing for sure. Your son never lets things go. Revenge doesn't always look like fire and fury. Sometimes it looks like spotlight. Like truth. Like making someone who thought no one would care suddenly the center of attention. White heavy checkmark H. Outro call to action. 15 to 25 seconds. Ever had to fight back for someone you love? Let me know in the comments, because your stories deserve to be heard too. And if this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, here at Cursed Karma, we don't forgive cruelty. We expose it.
2 years of love, living together, talking marriage. He took me ring shopping in March. And just a week later, he was sleeping with a married couple. I thought I had found my future. Turns out I was just his placeholder, until he could text 42 other women. But I didn't just walk away. I made sure every woman he lied to knew exactly who he really was. If you've ever had your heart broken by someone who wore a mask, someone who used you, gaslit you, and walked away like you were nothing, this story is for you. Hit like, subscribe, and brace yourself. Because this isn't just revenge, this is a reckoning. Let me introduce you to the devil. Not the actual devil, just the man I lived with, the one I thought I was going to marry. We were together for 2 years. In March, he took me ring shopping. Not casually, seriously. He told both our families at Christmas that we were getting engaged this year. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. I had no idea that a week later, he'd be in bed with a married couple, and that he'd been emotionally cheating on me for months before that. The affair wasn't even the most shocking part. It was how he made me think I was the problem, that my trust issues were ruining our relationship. For an entire month, he watched me waste away, cry, question everything, while continuing his lies. I lost 13 pounds. I stopped eating. I stopped feeling like a human being. And then on my birthday, he told me the truth, that he was physically cheating on me. I wish that was where the story ended. But it wasn't. I found his iPad. I wasn't even snooping. I was searching for answers. What I found? He was texting 42 other women. 42. He told one girl, who he had met 12 days earlier, that he was going to move in with her, start a new life, and that he loved her. Another woman, he was sexting her while planning a hookup, the same night. He had women from everywhere thinking they were special, that they were the only one. He even had someone flying in to visit him for a week. She canceled her flight after I told her the truth. And the wild part? This wasn't new behavior. I met 2 other women through an app who had identical experiences with him. They showed me DMs he sent back when we first moved in together, trying to cheat. I started writing down every phone number, every message, every lie. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to break anything. I was going to collect evidence. Because some men run from the truth, and some women deliver it by hand. So I did. I sent messages to every woman. All 42. I didn't just expose what he was doing. I gave them proof. Screenshots. Dates. Conversations. They had a right to know what kind of man they were dealing with. You want to know what happened? They started blocking him. Canceling trips. And then, they started reaching out to me. Thank you. I was about to fall for him. You saved me. But I wasn't done. I'd become close with his family. His mom, his brother, his friends. They knew our love story. They knew about the ring shopping, the shared home, everything. So I sent them messages too. I told them about the cheating, the lies, the 42 women, the gaslighting, the sex parties, even the OnlyFans accounts he was planning, using content from women who had no idea. Some of it possibly illegal. Did they respond? Not one word. Silence. But I know they read it. I changed the captions on our old Instagram posts, turned them into warnings. I made videos on TikTok detailing what happened. I didn't say his name. I didn't need to. He knew. He untagged himself from every photo. But he never messaged me. Not once. Not even to deny it. Because when you're truly guilty, you don't argue with facts. And as for the women, they've become friends. One is meeting me for coffee soon. Another said she blocked him the moment she saw my message. All of them, grateful. And me? I'm rebuilding. Slowly. Because I lost more than just a boyfriend. I lost the illusion that I mattered to someone who never cared. But I also found something else. My voice. My power. And a warning for any woman who ever crosses paths with him again. He's not who you think he is. But I'll make sure you find out before it's too late. He thought he was clever, juggling women like it was a game. Thought he could break my heart, walk away, and line up his next conquest without skipping a beat. But he didn't plan for accountability. He didn't expect receipts. He didn't think I would expose him to everyone, not just the women but his friends, his family, his future victims. This isn't just revenge. This is the one thing he never saw coming. Me. Not broken. Not silent. Just done pretending he deserved me. They say women are dramatic. That we overreact. But this was me staying silent for too long. Loving too hard. Trusting someone who never deserved it. Now, I'm just telling the truth. And the truth is finally catching up with him. If you've ever been used, lied to, or gaslit by someone who played innocent, share your story in the comments. We see you. We believe you. And if this story hit hard, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and never let anyone make you feel small for demanding honesty. Here on Cursed Karma, we believe in revenge that teaches lessons. And this one was a masterclass. He threatened to kick out my mother for cooking the wrong dinner. He tried to destroy my uncle for moving a chair he'd misplaced. When I turned 30, I stood silent for too long, until he put a knife into my mother's door. That night changed everything. This is the story of how I built an invisible case, walked into a courtroom, and punched through his control, with nothing but the truth. If you've ever felt trapped in someone else's house, controlled, bullied, or terrified, you're not alone. Like, subscribe, and stay with me. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life. I grew up the only child in a small household. My mom, my dad, my uncle. It looked peaceful from the outside. But inside? Chaos. By age 12, I knew something had to change. My counselor heard about my pleas for a divorce, but financial limits and the absence of physical abuse left us trapped. For years, I lived under a tyrant's reign. Imagine hearing your father scream over a chair move that he had done himself. He fought your uncle over it, threatening to kick him out. Or sitting in your own home, watching your mom boil with humiliation because he hated the dinner she made, calling her worthless for choosing her favorite show. It got worse when he tried to control what we loved: Sunday school, cooking, writing, even where I chose to sleep. He flirted with women decades younger, and blamed us when we felt uncomfortable. He adorned a calm mask for guests, only to become a ticking bomb as soon as the front door closed. Every night I wondered, what is wrong with us? Why can't we live? My secret mission: 2 minutes. At 16, I vowed to protect my mom and uncle. I started recording audio when he raged. I took timestamp notes on calls. I got video proof of substances. I set the foundation for my future escape. Every day I felt like I was rotting from the inside, but I smiled. I learned to lie, to function, to gather proof until the moment I'd be free. In 2023, my world fractured. My uncle, my quiet ally, died. Suddenly, his role fell to me. I moved into his old room. I sat across from my father, playing daughter, holding onto notebooks full of evidence. One January night changed it all. My dog barked during a friend's barbecue. He didn't just snap. He put a knife into my mother's door with no concern if we were on the other side. She called me terrified. I called the police. He was arrested for criminal damage, and then given bail, allowed to return home that I couldn't. That night, I packed, grabbed my dog, and couch surfed between friends. My safety couldn't be optional anymore. Lawyer I'd reached out to months before entered the scene. I became the legal victim in my own home. That status turned my years of evidence into a weapon to get a protection order. And it worked. Exclusive use of the house and custody of my dog was granted. April came. I stepped into the courtroom transformed. Dyed hair, a case won, a sense of armor I'd never felt before. My dad saw me for the first time in 2 months, and tried to speak to me. The prosecutor had to physically separate us. He tried to follow my gaze, but the judge described it as heebie-jeebies. And then came my moment. I stared him down. I recited my story, voice quivering, holding back tears, but never once faltering. One single tear didn't fall. This was my moment. 9 months rehab, an extra week in jail. He arrived back into shackles. And I left the courthouse feeling free. He returned to rehab. I moved freely. My mom came home from work happy, for the first time in her adult life. No more hiding at night. No more fear of his rage. This wasn't petty revenge. This was liberation. Not all revenge erupts in fireworks. Some of us fight with the slow burn of justice. Some of us climb, bit by bit, until we stand taller than the person who tried to crush us. This is your sign. You can rise. You can earn peace. No matter how long it takes. If you're living in fear, don't give up. Share your story in the comments. If this made you feel seen, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories of courage, justice, and victory. Here at Cursed Karma, we don't just deliver revenge, we deliver freedom.
He stood next to me as my best man, smiling like a brother. 10 years later, he told my wife she should have married him instead. So I cut him out of our lives completely. What followed? A beautifully lonely revenge he'll never recover from. If you've ever trusted someone only to have them stab you in the back when you least expected it, hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. Because this isn't just about betrayal. It's about boundaries, loyalty, and serving a slice of reality to someone who had it coming. We met in high school, just two kids figuring out life, falling in and out of love between exams and locker doors. But something about her stuck. Even through our college years, despite attending different universities and needing a 4-month break to focus on ourselves, we found our way back to each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. By the time we graduated, our love had matured, deepened. We reconnected more intentionally. We had a strong friend group in college, people who shared late-night study sessions, parties, and road trips. One of them was a guy named Cass. Let's call him that. Cass was charismatic, reliable, and funny. He grew up near us, and we'd travel home together for holidays. Naturally, he got close to both of us. When I proposed to my now wife, Cass was one of my groomsmen. He was family, or so I thought. Cass eventually married someone from our friend circle too. We all grew up, started lives, had kids. My wife and I had 3 children, and our bond only grew stronger. Cass and his wife, not so lucky. Their marriage crumbled, and though I won't get into the details, I'll say this. Cass wasn't the problem. His wife was. After their divorce, Cass moved back home and became a more frequent presence in our lives. He was going through a tough time, lonely, aimless, and we tried to support him, inviting him to family dinners, holiday get-togethers, making sure he felt cared for. I thought that's what friends do. One night, while having a quiet drink, Cass admitted something. He told me he had a thing for my wife back in college, said he was long over it, that it was ancient history. I laughed it off. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? We've been friends for over a decade. I had no reason to see it as anything more than a nostalgic confession. Until Alaska, a mutual friend invited the 3 of us, my wife, Cass, and me, to visit her in Alaska. But work had me tied down, so only my wife and Cass went. I wasn't thrilled, but again, I trusted them. When my wife returned, something was off. She wasn't herself. Quiet, cagey, and oddly distant, especially with Cass. She avoided him completely. Wouldn't even be in the same room if she could help it. For weeks, I watched this weird energy build. Finally, I sat her down and asked what happened. And that's when a mask ripped off. On the very plane ride to Alaska, Cass started trashing me. He called me unsuccessful, said I was holding her back, mocked the fact that she chose to be a stay-at-home mom, something we agreed on together. He questioned my masculinity, hinted that I was gay, claimed his family talked about it often. The man went from groomsman to gutless snake in one conversation. Then he dropped the bomb. He told my wife, my partner of almost 20 years, that they were meant to be together, that he deserved her. My wife shut it down immediately. She didn't tell me right away because she was in shock. She grew up with gaslighting parents who made her feel dramatic every time she raised a concern. So she tends to doubt her instincts. But in her gut, she knew this wasn't harmless. It was betrayal, not just to her, but to me, to us. I was livid. My heart pounded in my chest like a war drum. I'd welcomed this man into our home, let him hold my kids, called him my brother, and all along, he was harboring a fantasy life that involved stealing my wife. I picked up the phone and called him. I didn't shout. I didn't see. It should have ended there, but it didn't. A few days later, our mutual friend from Alaska called, furious. She accused me of being cruel for cutting Cass off, said he was going through a tough time, and that I should be there for him. At first, I didn't say anything. I don't like airing dirty laundry, especially not in a circle of friends. But she wouldn't let it go. So I told her everything. She paused, then dismissed it. He needs support. You know your wife would never do anything. You're overreacting. And shockingly, my wife agreed. Suddenly, I was the problem. The guy whose only crime was enforcing boundaries. Our friend group split. Some sided with me. Others told me to let it go. But here's the thing. In our marriage, we have a clear rule. If a friend of either of us ever makes the other uncomfortable, we go low contact or no contact. No exceptions. No justification. Just respect. She enforced it twice. 2 of my female friends crossed boundaries, and I dropped them without hesitation. Cass was the first and only person I asked her to cut off. And yet, she hesitated. That cut deeper than anything. I wasn't just angry at Cass anymore. I was hurt by my wife's reluctance to stand by me, to protect the space we'd built for nearly 2 decades. It felt hypocritical, unfair, like my discomfort didn't matter. We fought, repeatedly. I tried to explain how having Cass still hovering around made me feel vulnerable, threatened. Not because I believed she'd betray me, but because he already had. And every time she texted him back or gave him a smile at a party, he got validation. A signal that maybe, just maybe, there was a crack in the armor. But she couldn't see it. Not yet. Until I showed her this post. The one you're hearing now. She read every comment. She saw the outrage, the confusion, the heartbreak from people who'd been in similar shoes. And something shifted. She came to me later that night, eyes misty. "You were right," she whispered. "I didn't see it the way you did, but I do now. And I'm so sorry." She unfriended Cass, deleted his contact, and apologized, not just for the hesitation, but for making me feel like I was overreacting when I was simply trying to protect us. We held each other that night like we hadn't in weeks, maybe months. It wasn't about jealousy. It was about loyalty. As for Cass, turns out his aunt caught wind of the situation and ripped into him. She knew what he'd done. She saw the manipulation, the desperation to latch onto a woman who was never his. He reached out to me afterward, said he was sorry, said he took advantage of my trust, said he just wanted another chance. I told him the truth. I forgive you, but forgiveness isn't the same as trust, and you'll never be welcome around my family again. Then I gave him one last gift, a line he clearly needed to hear. God will never bring you someone else's wife. Click, for good this time. And that, right there, was the sweetest revenge I could have asked for. Not shouting, not slandering, not drama, just silence and distance. Now, Cass lives in the same town, but he lives alone. Watching from a distance as I raise my kids, love my wife, and live the life he thought he could steal. Some people get blocked, others get erased. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't what you do to someone. It's what you refuse to let them touch ever again. Your peace, your family, your future. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means choosing you. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if your best friend tried to steal your spouse? And of course, subscribe for more twisted tales of betrayal and justice. We've got more stories that'll shake your soul and warm your heart. Until next time, stay smart, stay loyal, and don't let snakes sit.